Just waiting on people to come in so we can start the live webinar. If anybody's in here, put a 1 in the comments so I can know that you hear me. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. If you don't know, my name is Chris, and I made this webinar because I know a lot of people ask me, how do you get your CDL? And a lot of people are in my inbox and they're asking me a lot of questions about getting a CDL. I've actually helped people in the past, and it never crossed my mind to actually make a course or talk about it online as far as helping other people. But I hope that this will help more people get their CDL and understand that it's not hard to get it all. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go and switch my screen to the slides. Let's go ahead and share my screen. All right. So this is the Get My CDL webinar. Let me know if you can see it. You guys should be able to see that, right? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the benefits of this webinar is to show you the 5+ ways to get your CDL for free, how to qualify for these grants and scholarships, and these grants and sponsorships, and also how to choose the right school after you're awarded. Oh, let's go back. How to choose the right school once you're awarded. And let's see. How to make more money in the trucking industry. So, free CDL class. Here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to take away from this, whatever you take away from this, go ahead and hashtag free CDL class on any social media. And just a little bio about me. Let me see if I can make this lighter because it should be, yeah, that's what it should look like. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, we'll just go from here. So I'm Chris, and I started my trucking journey January 2017 and received my CDL in February 2017. So it didn't take long. It took about a month for me to get my CDL. I was hired I put in an application at Stevens Transport on a Friday, and I got a call back that day. And on Monday, I had orientation with them. So I felt like I had gained a lot of momentum once I got my CDL, and I wanted to keep that momentum up. So I was looking to get hired immediately. And I had also recently lost my car. It had been repoed. um, while I was in CDL school. So I was kind of going on some hard times, and I wanted like a job like immediately after CDL school. And sometimes it's hard. Like the first 5 people I reached out to, it was just like a longer process, and I wasn't willing to wait. I needed something to kind of keep me going. So Stevens Transport, I called them Friday. They hired me. I was in orientation on Monday. Um, and the way I got my CDL was not through Stevens Transport, although they are a training school. They will train you, but my training, I went to a actual CDL training school. Um, so the difference is like I went to a training school, like specifically for training. They don't hire you or anything like that. Stevens Transport will hire you once you complete training, and you'll drive for them for a year. I'll get more into that in the later slides. So I worked at Stevens. I first went company. I drove as a company driver, and I learned the ropes, how to drive and things like that, how to read a map and how to fuel, just different things about being a trucker. Once I kind of understood that, coming from my background, I actually had a moving company before I started trucking that I did on the weekends. So I had already kind of had some business insight, and I wanted to kind of expand my knowledge with that. So I leased my first truck. It was a 2016 Freightliner, or it was an older model Freightliner, and I drove that for about a year. It was a manual, and I then felt like I wanted to kind of move on to the next step. I felt like I accomplished that. I wanted to move on to the next thing. So I went back to Stevens Transport, and they had a training class to where I could be a trainer and teach other people how to drive, and I would also make more money. It was kind of like a team drive setup, a team driver setup. The only difference was you only had like so many hours a day, like you could drive for each person at different levels. Like as in the training, it was like different tiers. Like you'd get like so many hours of driving per day for your student, but you still got paid the miles that they drove. So at least I turned in the Freightliner, and I leased another truck. It was an automatic, so I didn't have to really teach anyone how to shift. So all we did was drive all day. So that's how I made my first 100,000 at Stevens. Well, actually, no, that helped me make almost $100,000 at Stevens. I had made $90,000 in the first 9 months of 2018. So after I turned in my old truck, I got a new truck. I learned how to train, and then for the first 9 months, I made $90,000. Um, so now my goal is to help as many people as I can, because this is very duplicatable, or if that's a word, it can be repeated. So let's go to the next slide. So the top 5 ways to get your CDL for free. The first one I have on here is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, is the WIOA. The next one is Vocational Rehabilitation, formerly DARS or TRC. These may be different names in different states, but all states have these programs. Some of them are federal programs, so we'll get more into that. Goodwill is a place you can get your CDL for free. They do have grants at Goodwill. If you qualify, you are able to get a free CDL from Goodwill, and I'm going to go into more details on each of these later into the slides. Your local unemployment office or your workers' comp. These both assist with getting your CDL for free. And also, like I said, with trucking companies like Stevens Transport, they do sponsor you to become or to get your CDL, but there are stipulations, and we'll talk about those in the later slides as well. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So this is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, excuse me, also known as WIOA. And just you can see here, oh, sorry. It was signed into law in July 22nd, 2014 by Barack Obama, designed to help people find employment, get educated for employment, and support supportive services so that they could succeed in the job market uh, and match employers with skilled workers that they needed to compete in the global economy. So they help people find jobs, become more trained for different job tasks and different jobs, different positions, and they help them get into the workforce, right? So this is state and local boards must coordinate and align workforce programs to provide coordinated, complementary, and consistent services to job seekers and employers. So this is an ongoing thing. It doesn't stop, um, when the sun goes down, or it is like a 9 to 5 position. But I'm saying like it's a 365. Anyone can go ahead and go into the office of one of these buildings and um, ask for services and qualify and see if they qualify for the services. This is the website here. So to talk a little bit more about WIOLA, um, how to find your local office, you want to look for the local workforce in your state. In my state, it's called the Texas Workforce Solutions, or TWC. I don't know why it's abbreviated TWC when it's TWS, but you want to look for that. Each location has a weekly orientation to discuss training programs offered. And you want to call and get the dates of orientation. So, yes, you can walk in, but it's better to probably do some research. Again, I have this website here, and I believe they have a map, right, of each state of the office where you can call. They have the map and the phone number, so you can see where your office is. So if there are any questions, I will answer them at the end of this presentation. So I'm going to keep going. The next slide is the vocational rehabilitation services. So the vocational rehabilitation, or the VR program, provides vocational and rehabilitative services for individuals with disabilities to help them prepare and secure, regain, or retain employment. Uh, to be eligible for these types of services, you have to have a physical or mental impairment, and that's substantially impediment to your employment. Um, and I'll go into more information about that. Let's just go ahead and clear this slide. They help prepare you for enter, engage in, or retain employment. Priority is given to those individuals who have the most significant disabilities. So I want to let you know not to be discouraged, because they are given a set amount of money that they have to spend. Um, so it's always good to check and see if you qualify. Here's the website for that, and some more information about the VR services, or vocational rehab services. A disability could mean like diabetes, or depression, back injury, leg injury, anything like that, to where you're, you know what I'm saying, you're disabled or you have an impairment, right? So don't feel discouraged. Like if you don't think that you qualify, they actually can do um, diagnosis tests. So they can send you for a diagnosis to a doctor to see if you do have any of these issues. Like if you think you have anxiety or depression, but you're not sure, you haven't been diagnosed, they'll actually go ahead and set up an appointment for you so that you can see if you do have anything like that, and then you will qualify for the service, right? So let's move on to Goodwill. Um, so the Goodwill near me is in Fort Worth. I'm not sure if anyone is in here in Texas. Um, and you will have to check your Goodwill and see if they have the program. But Goodwill is a community resource. They're a 501c3 nonprofit, and they help people reach their potential through education and job skills training. So some of them do have job training centers where you can get a CDL. Like I said, they offer a grant to assist you if you do qualify. The one near me, there are stipulations like you have to show up for class, you have to um, just be able to do the job. Like it's really, really minimal things that you have to do if you're really serious. I think they're a lot easier to get done. So they do offer grants. You can go to goodwill.org and see if they have them near you. So let's move on to the next slide. So the local unemployment office, American Job Centers is a great resource. I do have a link below this video, and I'll actually try and link all these for you guys. So you want to have a list of other. They have a list of other federal employment and training programs, and they have a number you can call. So this is the helpline for the career1stop.org. That's actually their email address at the bottom too. So they also help find and help train you for careers. Here's the web address. And I'm going to move on to the next slide. So the last resort are the trucking companies that will sponsor you, like I mentioned earlier. Trucking companies will sponsor you to get your CDL. So if you meet the qualifications, you can pass the DOT physical and all that good stuff. They'll fly you to their school or a school that they contract with. They'll train you. They'll fly you to their hub, and then you will sign up. You'll actually sign a contract before all that to say that you're going to drive for them to pay off, your debt, to pay off your CDL school loan. And the thing about that is, if you pay out of pocket, and that's not on here because it's not free, but if you pay out of pocket, um, you are pretty much a free agent. You can go to any company that you want that will hire a new driver. Um, like I said, it takes about 1 to 2 years before you're able to go local or find like a job in a like place that you want. It's hard for new drivers to get jobs because of insurance purposes. Insurance is pretty high for people under 30 and for new drivers, right? So these trucking companies will sponsor you to get your CDL. They'll pay for everything. You sign a contract, you drive for them for a year. If you pay for it out of pocket, it'd be about $3,000. If you try to leave that trucking company, they'll probably get you with at least $7,000 worth of debt where you have to pay off, or it will hit your credit. So um, just be aware of that. It's a good deal if you can stay consistent and just deal with the trucking company, because there's always going to be some issues in trucking. There's always going to be something going on where they might rub you the wrong way and you might want to jump ship. But if you can stick with it and you can pay off your debt for that year, you can go ahead and you'll be a free agent your next year, and you can go and do whatever you want. You can get paid a little bit more. You have a lot more flexibility in the industry. So, like I said, this is a last resort. Um, Again, you must sign a 1 year contract to pay off your debt to them. So a lot of people like to think of it as a like indentured slavery type of thing. Like you are kind of in, what I'm saying? You don't have to stay there, but you do have to pay them back. It will affect your credit if you don't pay. And you want to start out. I don't know why you want to start out in debt. I understand that like sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but the reason I made this is because like I don't want people to start out in debt. Like we're already probably, I know I started out my trucking company, I mean my trucking career, all $20,000 in student loan debt, right? So why would I want to get into more debt on top of that to um, get into the industry when when there are, choices out there, there are different things you can do to get it for free. So that was my logic behind making this. Like if I can help someone get their CDL for free where they don't have to pay, out of pocket and they can save their money, and then they don't have to do a sponsor from a company that they don't have to get sponsored from a company and be in debt to that company and have to stay with that company even if they're treated like badly. You have options, and that's why I made this. So don't start out in debt is what I think you should take away from that. Here's some homework that I have for you guys. So visit the USA.gov to see what the requirements are to get your CDL in your state. Because in every state, the requirements are different. So whatever I did and whatever I studied in my state might be different to what you have to do in your state. I had to get like a DOT physical and all kinds of stuff, and they're just different in every state. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that so that you know, and that's the resource you can go to see what the requirements are. You want to do your research and see what would be the best option for you in your situation um, as far as payment goes, as far as the company that you're looking for. What do they pay? Um, how often are you getting home and things like that? So you want to make sure that you're asking questions. You're not just jumping into this industry blind. That's the fastest way in and the fastest way out. Last thing on here is also start calling trucking companies to get an idea of the industry. I didn't put this, but I will also say that you should go to truck stops and talk to truckers and see kind of what they would say about a company that you're thinking about going to, right? They always have good insight, though. Nobody will steer you wrong. Like if they're getting treated badly, they'll let you know, like, "Hey, I don't like it here," and they'll actually probably give you somewhere that you should go. And don't forget, like I said, call the companies that you're interested in so you can get an idea of the industry, what kind of things they haul, what kind of trucks they drive, how long their training is, and things like that. And if their orientation is paid or not paid, you want to ask all types of questions just to get an idea. So you still have to work for it. Do not let this webinar fool you. Don't let me fool you. I worked my butt off. Um, like I said, I lost my car. I'd have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take the train. I had to take two trains down to Oak Cliff. But I have to. The first train would take me to Dallas. The next one would take me to Oak Cliff, and then I'd have to go like another 15 miles to school. And I'd wake up at 5 and get to school at 7. School started at 7. I'd be at school from 7 to 5, and then it'd take another 2 hours on the train to get back home. So I worked hard for what I wanted, and I knew that nothing was going to stop me from doing this. So you really, even though my CDL was free, I had to work. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's easy. You do have to actually get a job for some of these programs. So I would check the details before actually saying that. Before you, but I would check the details before applying for the sponsorship or for a grant or for any of these programs. I would make sure that you know the ins and outs before you do it. Just because it's free doesn't mean sign your life away. So you can end up owing money if you're not serious about committing. If you like some of these are job programs. These are programs to get you employment. So if you don't follow up, if you can't follow up with employment within a certain amount of time, some of these people or some of these programs will send you a bill. So be aware of that. The last thing, some of these places only give out like so many grants and they only have so much funding. So I suggest that if you're serious, or I suggest that you do take this very seriously because you could be stopping someone else from being great and bettering themselves. Just because you said or you heard Chris say that you could get your CDL for free and you went and thought you could do it because you were big and bad, but um, you weren't ready. Like it's very intimidating, the trucking industry. And I've had people that I've trained, like I pull into a truck stop and they're like, I can't do this anymore. Like it's too much work. I'd rather go home and work a 9 to 5. And now I've had people get out of my truck in the middle of nowhere at a truck stop, call a cab, and go to the nearest airport to go back home because it was too hard for them. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So is it worth the effort? Is trucking worth the effort? Trucking is still a growing industry. There's a huge demand for truckers. You can go on Indeed or any of these job sites. You can go on Craigslist, and if you type in like trucking job, um, there are leads for days. There are jobs for days. It all depends on your experience, and what you're looking to do. So I believe truly that your CDL will open doors for you, and that this is only the start. But your CDL is a golden ticket. If you have experience, you have a clean motor vehicle record. Even if you're a felon, you can still get hired. There are companies that hire felons, but once you do get your CDL, like it opens doors for everyone who is very serious about doing this. You can go from being a company driver like I did to a lease driver like I did to starting your own trucking business like I did. Um, I opened a freight brokerage. I've opened a dispatch firm. I've I'm doing local transportation. Like getting my CDL has opened so many doors for me that is really ridiculous. And I'm really happy and I really appreciate every opportunity that I've had. So let's go ahead and move on. So I have a guilty plug. I have a plug for you guys, a shameless plug, but um, do make sure you check this out. This is the ultimate guide to getting your CDL. It's a course that I've made to help people aren't who are having trouble understanding kind of what's going on in the industry and how to get in the industry. They don't know anything about the industry. I made a course so that people can really understand what is what, right? So it's called the Ultimate Guide to Getting Your CDL. If you're interested, um, I'll go ahead and make sure to link that in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and come back into the video and see if there are any comments here. So that Ultimate Guide to Getting Your CDL does include how I made my first 100,000 in trucking as well. So I'm going to jump back in the chat and let's see, stop that. Okay. All right. So I'm back. I don't see any questions in here, but let's see. I mean, that's a wrap. That's pretty much it. If you do have any questions you want to ask, my email is chrisleetv3@gmail.com. You can reach out to me with any questions that you do have. I would be glad to answer them. So that's it for this webinar. You guys have a great day, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Bye.